which leaves this to be C. But is that correct? When we have a y and we have an x, right, and they're only to the first power, does it make a line of some sort? And yet, is it slanted? Yes. It's only not slanted whenever it either has a variable, an exponent, which we're not going to see that anymore, okay? Or it's not slanted, it's either straight up and down or straight left and right if we are missing one of the variables. So therefore this one's slanted. Any questions on that one? Okay, so now on 5, 6, and 7 it says make a table of values for the equation. So on the notes on Friday, their table they do horizontally, right? I showed you guys a T-chart, right? That's how I teach it. I teach when we're graphing a T-chart. And so what a T-chart looks like, I'm going to do this. A T-chart looks like this. A T, and then we do X for the input and Y for the output, okay? Now, on number 8, that equation is already in function form. How do I know that it's in function form? Because y is by itself on one side of the equal sign. Now, I think I told you guys in the notes on Friday, my favorite 3 numbers to pick for input are what? 0, 1, and 2. Why? Because I know how to multiply by 0, I know how to multiply by 1, and I know how to multiply by 2 pretty good. Okay? So, what I'm going to do, and every teacher is different. Some teachers may require you to pick 5 numbers. Some teachers may only require you to pick 2. I always ask that you pick 3. And the directions for this one say pick 3 too. Because once you can get 3 dots on a grid, you can tell whether or not that's a line in what direction it's going. You can have the dots. Okay? So on number 8, we're going to pick 3 values for y. So I'm going to go ahead and plug those in. 0, 1, and 2. What that means is I'm going to solve this equation 3 times. The first time, I'm going to figure out what y is. Remember, y is the output. I'm going to figure out what y is when I make x 0. So if I replace x with 0, what is 0 minus 6? Negative 6. So that means that when I make my input nothing, when I make it 0, my output, my y, ends up being negative 6. We got that so far? Now, what does that make? This is an ordered pair where x is 0 and y is negative 6. From there, I can graph that. I can put that on a graph. Now, the directions for this one don't tell me to do that, so I don't have to. But that's my first ordered pair. Now I'm going to solve the same equation again, except I'm going to replace x with 1. So now, instead of saying y equals x minus 6, I'm going to say, what is y equal when I replace x with 1? What's 1 minus 6? Negative